So the first concept that I want to get into here within Microsoft Excel is working with a well-formatted, proper design list. Open in front of you, I've got the example file that comes with this course. You can see at the top of my screen, it's called Excel 102 Exercises, and it's a .xlsx document. Jump back to lecture number 2 within this course and download this file. This is the one that you're going to be using and the one that I'm going to be using throughout the remainder of this course. So make sure you have that. And even open it up in front of you so you can follow along with me as I demonstrate these various features. So here's the first concept. There's actually 2 that I want to bring in here and make you aware of as you work within Excel with the lists. Now, inside the exercise file that I have open, I'm looking at the Employee Records tab. And on here, I have a simple little list. Nothing big, but you can see at the top of my list, and this is the first concept that we should all adhere to, very first row, I've got my column headers, the identifiers of the data within this list. Now, it serves 2 purposes. 1, they're there for us as end users of this list. You yourself and your coworkers and so on can make it more accessible. We can find the data. We know that in column C I have first name, in column F I've got phone extension, in column A I've got employee ID, and so on. So they make the list more accessible for us, the end users of the list. Adding records is going to be much easier because we know what goes into this list. Finding data, much easier because we know which column to look for, and so on. It's as simple as that. They're there to help us identify the data and make it more accessible. The second reason we want the column headers, and this deals with Excel, the tool itself. Excel by default wants the headers, and it looks in the very first row for your headers. Now you might ask, well, you know what if I didn't have headers? Would Excel still look in the very first row for headers? Well, that's an excellent question. You know what? Yes, it would look, but the way that it identifies that these are my headers, they're formatted differently. Just do something simple like make them bold, give them an underline, do something different to that very first row than the rest of the records. This way Excel recognizes that, yep, indeed, those are the headers within this list. Again, really simple. Put them up there. They're there for you. They're also there for Excel. Now, why are they there for Excel? Well, when you start doing things like sorting and filtering and pivot tables and calculations, anything that really deals with specific columns, Excel will identify it by their column header. So, for example, I want to sort by last name. Well, Excel says, great, I know where last name's at. I'll go sort it for you. It identifies it by the column headers. Ooh, I want to do a pivot table, and I want to summarize, I want to get a count of how many different departments we have. Ooh, well, Excel says, yeah, okay, department, I know where that's at. Let's go ahead and go count those departments. Okay. So there for you and there for Excel. Make sure they're the very first row in your list, and you formatted them differently than the rest of the data in the list. So there's the first concept. Here's the second one of a well-formatted, properly designed list. Make sure that your list does not have any empty rows in the list or columns. For example, I come in here, this is row number 17, and I delete that record. I just hit my delete key on my keyboard. Now, I'm up above that row. Let's imagine that that empty row is, hundreds or thousands of records off the screen, right? So I'm up here at the top, going along my merry way, right? I'm sorting, I'm filtering, I'm running pivot tables, I'm, doing all sorts of stuff to this list. I think all is right in the world. Yay! Well, you know what? All is not right in the world. Okay? Well, look what happens. Take a look. I have an empty row in this list. Excel is going to interpret this as 2 separate lists because it's no longer a contiguous list. Watch this. So I'm up here at the top, and I'm going to give you a shortcut key here. I'm going to select that entire list. On my keyboard, I'm going to press Control A. This will jump out and grab my data. Oh, but what happened here? It didn't grab the data down below. Why didn't it grab the data down below? Because of that empty row. So make sure that you don't have any empty rows, any empty columns in your list. This will assist Excel in finding your data, the proper data, all of the data. Just watch out for that. So 2 things, really simple. Make sure your list has headers at the top, They're there for you. They're there for Excel. And make sure your list does not have any empty rows or empty columns so that Excel can find all of the data. As simple as that. Create a properly designed, a well-formatted list by adhering to these two concepts. So here's the first tool that I want to get into within working with a list inside of Excel. And this is perhaps one of the most common tools that are used inside of a list. Now, think about this. What's the purpose of a list? Think about that. Well, it's to store data. I've got a list of employee records. I got to put those someplace. Well, I stored the data there. Well, why are you storing the data? Well, I'm storing the data so that later on I can find it. Yeah, ultimately the purpose of a list is so that you can work with the data, you can find the data. Well, one of the most effective ways of finding data is organizing it properly, sorting the lists. I want to sort this list to make it easier to find specific records. So let's think about this for a moment. What might be something you would sort this list by so that you can more easily make this list more accessible so that you can find that data? Think about that for a moment. Look at those column headers. What would you sort this list on to make it easier to find? Well, you might think, well, it depends on what you're looking for. Well, if I'm just looking for specific employees, maybe I'll sort this list by last name. Right? I'll sort it by last name so I get it in ascending order, A to Z, and I can skim through the list to find those specific employees with specific last names. Oh, well, you know what? I want to find employees that work in a specific location. Well, hey, no problem. We'll sort the list by location. Building 1s, building 2s, building 3s, we'll put it in the proper order to make it easier to find things. Hey, think about this. Anybody use a phone book anymore? Do you still get one of those on your doorstep? I got one a few months back and I thought, what am I going to do with that? Right to the recycle bin. Okay? I don't use them anymore. But think about this. What if a phone book wasn't sorted? Would you find anything? You might find something, but it would take you forever to find it because it's not organized properly in an accessible way. So we sort the list to make it easier to find. So here's the first method on sorting a list. Really simple. Watch this. I want to sort my list by last name. So I click into the last name column. Doesn't matter where, just anywhere in the column. And I'm going to perform what I call a quick sort. I want to sort by last name. I identified that by clicking into it. I'm going to go up to my data tab. On my data tab, I got a place called sort and filter. And in there, I got 3 sort buttons. But the first 2 are my quick sorts. I can sort ascending. I can sort descending. I'm going to do an ascending, A to Z. I'll give that a click. And I've now sorted my list by last name in ascending order. You can see A, B, C, D, F, G, and so on. Really simple. Click into the column you want to sort on. I wanted to do it by last name. Go up to data. Make your selection. Ascending or descending order. Whatever's going to make it easier for you to find the data. So try this out. Identify how you want to sort this list. What's going to make it easier to find specific records? Well, I did it by last name. You might do it by department. You might do it by location. You might do it by hire date. Whatever it is, head up to the data tab, select your order. You've now sorted your list and made it more accessible. So we just talked about a single level sort, or what I refer to as a quick sort. Click into the column, go to your data tab, choose your order, ascending, descending. Now that's great and it's super quick. The second technique that I want to talk about here in sorting the list deals with a multi-level sort. I want to sort this list by multiple columns. Okay? Now this one is very quick as well, but a few extra steps. Take a look. I want to get into this list, same employee records list, and I want to sort it not just by last name, but I now want to sort it by last name and first name. So I want to do 2 levels here. Take a look. So first, I'm going to click into my list. Now at this point, because I'm doing multiple columns, it really doesn't matter which column you click into, just as long as you're in the list itself. Once I'm in that list, I'm going to go up to my data tab. I'm going to go back into the sort and filter area, but this time I'm going to go to the big sort button. I'll give that a click. This opens up my custom sort window. Now within here, I can do several things. You'll notice that I currently have one sort order in here. I can see that I'm sorting by column last name. I'm going to sort on the values, meaning the values within that column, the last name values, and I'm going to sort in ascending order. Now this is just one level. I want to add a secondary level, a secondary sort. Up in the top left corner, I'll hit the Add Level button. This adds my second level sort. Now here, I'm going to go grab first name. I'll continue to sort on values. I'll continue to do an ascending order sort, and I'll hit OK. And I've now sorted my list first, primary sort by last name, secondary sort by first name. Take a look. Now if I scroll through this list, it may not look like first name is sorted. They're kind of all over the place. But what's happening here is it's creating groups. Last name was sorted first. So now I've got A, B, C, and so on. But anytime that there's more than one employee with the same last name, like Berwick, it's a group. And within that group, it's now sorting first name in ascending order. You can see Elaine and Sam. Here's Corwick, Judy and Rob, J and R. If I scroll down, let's find Smith. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 Smiths, right? Over on the right, I'll see B, E, H, H, A, H, O, and there we go. I've sorted 2 levels, last name and then first name. Simple, simple. Click into your list, head up to your data tab, go to the big sort button. You got your custom sort or your multi-level sort window open, and you can add levels. Here's an FYI for you. Now, ever since 2007 of Excel, you can sort up to 64 levels. Think about that. If you ever need to do that, I want to know why. Jump into the discussion board within this course and let us know why you need 64 levels. That just seems like it's a huge number and something I'll never use. For me personally, 2, 3, maybe 4 levels occasionally, that's about my cap. Okay, but 64 levels now. Have a go. Try it out. To your heart's content. You can go. You can sort a ton inside of Excel. So here's one more topic about sorting within Excel lists. Now I've still got the exercise file open. It's called Excel 102 Exercises. It's a .xlsx document, but I'm on a different tab. I'm on the Buyers 2015 worksheet. You can see down at the bottom of the screen. Now I'm going to give you a quick little tip here. In order to find, really make it more accessible for you, the little arrows on the left-hand side of your screen, if you right-click, right mouse button click on one of those arrows, you'll get a list of your sheets. There we go. And I'll just find Buyers 2015, I'll hit OK, and it'll take me right there. So there's a quick little tip for you as you navigate around within larger workbooks that contain many different worksheets. All right, so I'm on this Buyers 2015 worksheet. I have another list. It's a simple list. Just a few columns there, month, year, cost, items, and buyer, and a few records. Now, the very first column in this list, I've got months. It's a date value, right? Sort of. It's a date value. It's a monthly value, but it's not a full date. It's just got the month in there. Now, I want to sort this list by the month. So what do? I click into the month column, doesn't matter where. I go up to my data tab, top of my screen. I go to sort and filter, and I'm going to do an ascending sort. But think about this for a moment. How's it going to sort that data? Right? How's it going to do it? This is an ascending sort, A to Z. Well, it's going to sort it alphabetically. Right? I'm going to try it out. I'll go ahead and hit the A to Z button. Boop. I've now sorted my list. Really simple, right? Click in the column, hit your sort button, you're done. Oh, wait. It sorted it alphabetically. April, August, F, J, JA, JU, JUL, JUN, and so on. It's an alphabetical sort. Now, that's great, and it's super simple to do, but that's not what I want. I want to sort that column chronologically by its actual month value. So take a look. This is how we can perform a custom sort based on month. Watch this. So first step, I click into my list. Doesn't matter where. The reason why is I'm now going to go to my data tab. I'm going to go to the big sort button. This opens up that custom sort window that we talked about in the previous lecture. Now, I want to sort by month, correct? Bingo. I want to sort on the values, meaning the values that are in that month column. but I don't want to sort A to Z. I don't want to do an alphabetical sort. So I'm going to change my order. You do have the reverse, descending order, Z to A, but I also have custom lists. I'm going to go ahead and select that option. This opens up my custom list window where default, any copy of Excel comes with 4 custom lists. Days of the week, both abbreviated and spelled out, and the same for months. You have to select the appropriate one. So my months are spelled out. So I'll select the last one there. I'm going to hit OK. I now have a new order here of the month chronological order. January, February, March, April, and so on. And if I click on the drop down, you've got the reverse, the descending order as well. So I'll keep an ascending. I'll hit OK. And I've now sorted a custom sort, sorted this list chronologically by the month. Look at that. January, February, March, April, May, June, and so on. Click into your list, doesn't matter where, up to your data tab, into sort. Make sure you're sorting on the correct column, but then you change your order to a custom list. And you get 2 by default, days of the week and months, 2 of the more common custom ways to sort a list. Sorting a list makes it more accessible, makes it easier to find data, but you still have to search through all the data to find the specific records that you're looking for. For example, I'm looking at buyers 2015 and I've just sorted it by month. But you know what? I want to find the July records. So I still have to scroll through all the other records that I don't necessarily need to be able to find the July records. There they are. So not that it took a lot of time to do, but in a lot of cases, I don't just want to present the data to make it easier to search. I actually just want it to display specific records. I only want to see the July records, and that's it. Nothing else. I don't need January, February, March, April, May, June, or August, or September, and so on. I just need July records. So we're going to talk about filtering a list. Take a look. And this is super simple. Microsoft gave us a tool called an auto filter that really does all the work for us. All we need to do is identify to Excel what we're looking for. Watch this. So I'm going to click into my list. Doesn't matter where. I'm going to go back to my data tab, back to sort and filter, and I'm going to go to the big filter button. I'll give that a click. It doesn't open up an additional window like the sort button did, but this changes a property of my list. You can see up in my column headers now, A1 through E1, month, year, cost, items, and buyer, I've now got these little drop-down arrows that show up next to each column header. Remember how important those column headers are? This is one of the reasons. So now I say, you know what? I've got my filter on, the little drop-downs. I want to filter for July records. That's all I want to see. So I'll find the month. I'll find the little drop-down attached to the month. Give that a click, just a left click. And I've got several things going on in here. I can sort. I can provide text filters, like if it's equal to something or begins with something or contains specific characters. Or I could drop down to my search filters and say, you know what? Let's make this a little bit bigger here. I don't want to see everybody, so I'm going to deselect all, and I'm going to select July, because that's all I need, just the July records. I'll hit OK, and that's it. Bingo, it's that quick. Go to the little drop down, select what you need, hit OK. You've now got the July records, and that's all I get. Now it's super easy to be able to find those specific records. Oh, now I'm thinking, you know what? July's great, but I also want August. Let's get August into the mix as well. So I'll go back up to the little drop down. You'll notice that it now has a little funnel icon on it, just denoting that I have filtered by this column. I'll go up there, and I'm going to go find August. There's August. I'll hit OK. And I've now filtered my list for both July and August. Great. Ooh, let's take this a step further. I'm really enjoying this because of how quick it is. I mean, you hit a couple of buttons and your list is now changed to show you just those specific records. Now I'm looking at July and August. But you know what? This is for all buyers. I don't want to see all buyers. So I'll go up to the little drop down and say, you know what? Not everybody. Let's get rid of that. I want to see Gonzalez and I want to see Smith. Just those 2 people. I'll hit OK. And now I've got just the July and August records for those two buyers. Quick, quick, quick. So let me clear the filter. Let me get back to square one once again. What I can do really simply is I can go up to my data tab. Inside the sort and filter area, I can hit the clear button. This will take me back to square one once again, all of my records. So try this out. Jump over to Buyers 2015 or maybe back to employee records that we worked with first and try filtering for specific values, specific records, whether it's by month, cost, the buyer. If you're on the employee records worksheet, maybe I'm going to filter for departments or locations or a certain time frame when people were hired. Whatever it is, just click into the list, doesn't matter where, go up to your data tab, turn on the filter button. You now have the little drop down where you can start filtering for specific records. The next topic that I want to get into here within a proper designed, well-formatted list is subtotals. So I've still got the exercise file open and I've gone to the subtotals worksheet. Now first the idea of a subtotal, and this is quick. I've got a simple list. It's got a few columns: salesperson, product, units, price unit, and sales, and a few records. It's not a very big list. It's got roughly 42 records minus the headers at the top of the screen. And now I want to summarize some data here. I want to know, as an example, I want to know total sales for each of the products, right? How much did we sell for vanilla versus chocolate chip? Can never get enough chocolate, right? Versus fudge brownie versus strawberry and so on. What are the total sales for those products? I can perform a simple subtotal to accomplish this goal. Now, before you run the subtotal tool, which is built into Excel, the very first thing you need to do is sort the appropriate column that you want to subtotal by. So I want to get a subtotal by the product. I want to subtotal the sales by the product. So my first step here is to sort the list by the product column. Remember how simple this is? I'll click into the product column, doesn't matter where, just as long as I'm in that product column. I'll go up to my data tab and I'm going to hit the A to Z. I'm going to do an ascending sort. And there I go. Now I've got some groups for products. I can see I've got a handful of chocolate chip records. Now I want to get a subtotal for the chocolate chip. Then I want to do it for fudge brownie and strawberry and vanilla and, and so on. But now that I have the groups, I can now perform a proper subtotal for the sales for those groups. All right. Now, back in the day, years and years and years ago, or maybe you just did this yesterday, here's the very labor-intensive, very manual process of creating subtotals. So this, what I'm about to show you, would be the no. Don't do it this way. You want to do subtotals utilizing the subtotal tool within Excel. Don't do what I'm about to do here. This is the long one. Take a look. So first, I got it grouped. Got my chocolate chip. Now I'm going to drop down here to row number 9. I'm going to insert a row. I'll press my shortcut key, Control+. I've now got a new row in there. I'll jump over to the sales column and I'll sum it up. Right? This is me manually doing this. Okay, there's my $5,773.40 for chocolate chip. Then I'll drop down here to row 19. I'll insert a row. I'm going to jump over here and say equals sum. And I'm going to go grab the data. Right? But it's doing it, but this is very, very manual. I'm inserting rows. I'm calculating it. I'm doing this all myself. With only 3-4 groups, no big deal. But what if you had thousands of records? Holy moly, this is going to take forever. All right, I'm going to undo this silliness here. Control Z. I love Control Z. Undo. All right, now I've got my list. It's sorted by product. Now I'm going to show you the subtotal tool, and Excel is going to do all that work for us with a little bit of input from us. All right, first step, you sorted the column. Second step, click into your list. Doesn't matter where, just as long as you're in the list. Third step, go to your data tab. On the far right, go to subtotal. This will open up your subtotal window. In here, it wants to first know, okay, well, at what point, at each change in what, do you want to get a subtotal? Well, for me, it's at each change in product. Remember sorting by the product column? Now we have groups. So every time the group changes, it'll then give us a subtotal. Now it wants to know, well, what type of subtotal do you want? And I've got a number of different types of calculations. I want to sum up. Okay, well, what do you want to sum? I want to sum the sales. So at each change in product, sum the sales column. And that's it. I hit OK, and I'm done. I've now got my total sales for each product. Take a look. Chocolate chip total, $5,773.40. Fudge brownie was $7,831.20, and so on. It's created, and it also gave me a grand total down at the bottom. Just a few button presses. Sort the lists. Get those groups. At what point do you want to get subtotals? Well, I'll sort it by product. Go to your data tab. Go to subtotal. Tell it all the information, and it does the work for you. And take a look at this. This is a bonus. If you take a look at the left-hand side of the screen, you'll find 3 little numbers with some vertical bars. These are groups. If I click on the number 2, this will show me just the subtotals. If I click on the number 1, I get a grand total. If I click on the number 2 again, I'm back to subtotals. If I click on number 3, I'm back to my records. Very cool. One report now, you've got it all right there. And you can collapse them individually. If I click on the minus sign, there goes chocolate chip. Oh, you know what? I don't really need to see the details of chocolate chip and strawberry. I just want to see fudge brownie and vanilla. It's as easy as that. It's built into there for you. The subtotal tool saves you a ton of time. Data, subtotal, fill in the blanks, and you got your subtotals. Try it out. Jump over to the exercise file, open up subtotals, and create some subtotals. Try it out for product. Maybe do it for salesperson. You know, just get a little bit of testing inside of there and see what you can come up with. It really just depends on what you're trying to view. What are you going to report off of? So the next feature I want to introduce you to here was actually introduced into Excel in the 2007 edition of Excel. Now I'm working inside of 2013 in front of you, but 3 versions ago and the newest version, which is 2016, all hold this feature. This is called Format List as Table. Now, looking at my list, I'm back into the exercise file. I'm back to the employee records list. There are many different things you would do with a list, such as what we're looking at here. We've talked about a few. You would do sorting. You would do filtering. You would do subtotals. And there are many more. You might do calculations. You might do pivot tables. You might format the list to make it more presentable. Have you ever gone through a list like this and formatted every other row? You know, maybe done something like this where I'll highlight every other row just holding down my control key here. I'll get into there. I'll format them now. I'll go to my home tab. I'll go to a little paint bucket. Maybe I'm going to make them light gray. You know, it makes it more presentable, easier to look at, right? But I did that manually. So 1, it took me a bit of time to do. 2, what happens if I now sort this list? What if I jump into last name and I go to my data tab and I do an ascending sort? Well, I've now sorted my lists, but those highlighted lines are now shuffled all over the place. And you might get where some are actually crammed next to each other, right? Or look at this. There's 2 rows here where they're not every other row anymore because I did it manually. I did it myself. And now when I sort it, that formatting gets sorted as well. So I just goofed that up. Let me undo this. Control Z, Control Z. There we go. Get back to my default list here. Let's turn the filters back off. Now, what if I calculate this? Let's say I get down to the bottom of my list, and I'm just going to count. I'm going to perform a simple count here, just using the count function. And I'm going to count all these records. All right, I can see that I got 51 records inside of this list. Now, what happens if you filter the lists? What happens to that calculation? Well, let's try this out. I'll click into my lists, go to data, go to filter, got my little drop downs now. Let's say I filter for department. I don't want to see every department. I just want to see AD and AC. That's it. I'll hit OK. All right, I've got just AC and AD, but where did my calculation go? I don't see that number anymore, right? I want to know how many records I got here for these 2 departments. Right? Well, you know what? It got filtered out. I can just peek into there, expand that column. There. Oh, wait. There it is. But I got 51. How many records do I have here? Right? That's the full count for the entire list. So I've got some issues here. Formatting issues when I sort the list are going to get all wacky. Calculations aren't updating for me. This is a challenge. I'm going to undo my filter. I'll just hit the big filter button up there. I'm going to go down to the bottom and delete this calculation out. Just beep, gone. So these are two things, among others, that I want to fix as I work with a list such as this. So this is where the format as table comes into play. Watch this. I'll click into my list, doesn't matter where. I'm going to go to my home tab. On my home tab, all about 3/4 of the way to the right, I got a style section, and in there I got format as table. Now, it's just formatting at this point, so it really doesn't matter which one I pick. In fact, if you're trying this out, whatever you like, to your heart's content. Pick a color. I like blue. I'm going to grab this one right here. All right, it wants to know, hey, where's your data? A1 to H52. That sounds right. Does your table have headers? Ooh, remember that discussion? Yep, my table has headers. I'll hit OK. And I've now formatted my list as a table. Well, what did this do? It alternated row colors. Yay! It did it for me. I don't have to do that manually, right? Cut that out. It gave me the drop downs for my filters. It built those two things right into my table now. Now, what else did it do? It gave me a new tab at the top of my screen. Table Tools with the Design tab, where there's all sorts of features. Ooh, you don't like blue and gray? Well, you can change the colors up here. It gave you remove duplicates. It gave you an export command. It gave you a bunch of options here for styles. Let's try some of these out. So one, underneath table style options, there's a few things, but I'm going to turn on the total row. Activate that one, just check it. Now down at the bottom of my list, I now have a total row. And what's it doing? 51, what's that? That's a count of records. Look at that. If I click into there, it'll give me a drop down where there's some other functions that I can perform here. Ooh, maybe I want to sum up the phone extension. Probably not. It's a phone extension, but just for demonstration, I jump in here and say sum. And I've now got a sum of all those numeric numbers. Doesn't make a lot of sense. It's a phone extension, but we get the idea. There are different calculations that we can use here. I'll just delete that. Gone. Now, you imagine that this list is going to grow in size. People are going to want to add records to this list. Well, you don't want to add down below because that would be outside of this table. In the lower right corner, barely see it right there's a little tick mark. If I grab that, see how I get a double-headed arrow? I'm just going to left click and drag down, and I've now added more rows to the table. And if I start adding records here, let's say we got number 3000, and this is going to be Smith, and it's going to be Joe, and Joe's a part of the HR department, and so on and so on and so on. And Joe was hired on the 1st of January of 2016. There's Joe, and it's already counting Joe. 52 records now. Really simple. Click into your list, go to your home tab, format the list as a table, pick your favorite color. Really doesn't matter. But by doing so, it gives you the filters, the little drop-down arrows. It gives you alternated rows. It gives you the ability to get into some design aspects like the total row and various other features here. Format list as table. One contiguous list. Excel recognizes it. Well-formatted list here for you. Try it out. Open up the exercise file, hop over to Employee Records, go to the Home tab, and format it as a table. So the next feature that I want to show off here deals with duplicate records. Now, once again, I've got the example file open, and I'm looking at the Employee Records worksheet. Now, in the Employee Records worksheet, we got a list of employee information. And I just now added a couple of duplicate records into this list, just for the demonstration here. I'm not going to identify them to you yet. I'm going to show you a really quick, effective way to find duplicate records. Now, I'm actually going to take this into two stages. One, we're first going to identify the duplicates. The second, we're then going to remove the duplicates. And we're going to use two different Excel features to perform these two separate commands. So take a look. Now, looking at my employee list, What might be the easiest way to identify if a record is duplicated? Right? Can I do it by last name? Can I just say, well, if the last name duplicates in any of these records, it's considered a duplicate? Well, probably not, because you might have employees that have the same last name. So that's not really effective. But I do have an employee ID, and typically IDs are unique. Each employee should only have their unique ID and nobody else should have it. Okay? So I'm going to use the ID column. So first step, all I want to do is identify which ones are duplicated. So I'm going to highlight my IDs here. And I'm going to do this by clicking a set of A2. I'm going to use a keyboard shortcut to select the rest of them. I'm going to do Control, Shift, and my down arrow. And this will grab all of the values within that column. Essentially, Control, Shift, and your down arrow will jump all the way down and select it until it finds an empty cell, and then it stops. Ding! All right, so I've got them all highlighted there. Now that they're highlighted, I'm going to use a feature called conditional formatting. And I'm going to use a specific condition to say find duplicates. Watch this. They're highlighted. I'm now going to go to my Home tab. On my Home tab, I'm going to go back to Styles. I'm now going to go to Conditional Formatting. I'm going to go to Highlight Cell Rules. And down at the bottom, I'll go to Duplicate Values. Now, they're searching for duplicates. You can also say Find Unique, but I want to find duplicates. It's already giving me a format. Do a light red fill with dark red text. That sounds wonderful. I'm going to hit OK. And I can now see that 1067 was a duplicate. 1529. Oop, there's the duplicates right there. There's the other 1067. So I've got 2 duplicate records. 4 total, but you know, they're duplicating. So 2 times 2 equals 4, right? I've got 4 records in here that were identified as duplicates. 2 of them, actually. So using a little bit of conditional formatting just to identify the duplicates. Highlight the column or whatever set of data you're searching for duplicates within. Go to your Home tab, Conditional Formatting, and find those duplicates and format it however you want. But remember, this is just one step. The second step, well, I've identified them. What are you going to do with them? I want to remove them. So in the next video, let's take a look at how you can remove those duplicates. But first, try this out. So we've identified the duplicates by using conditional formatting. But in many cases, once you've identified them, you then want to perform some action with those duplicates. And in this case, I'm going to remove the duplicates. Now remember, it's 2 separate steps. First, you identify them using conditional formatting, and then second, we're now going to remove them. You could just remove them, but then you would never visually see which records were actually duplicated. Take a look. I'm going to click into my lists. Doesn't matter where. You're going to find the Find Duplicates or Remove Duplicates feature in 2 different places. Because my list has been formatted as a table, I get the Design tab. On my Design tab, far left, I can go to Remove Duplicates. Now, if you did not format your table, okay, then I would need to go to my Data tab, and on my Data tab, I've got Remove Duplicates. So it just depends. If you haven't formatted your list as a table, you go to your Data tab. If you have, you can go to your Design tab. Either method, they're exactly the same. So for me, because I'm already on my Data tab, I'll go ahead and go to Remove Duplicates. This opens up my Remove Duplicates window where it now wants me to identify what I consider a duplicate. And I do this by telling it which columns it should be comparing to identify the duplicate. So right now it says every single column is selected. So if every single value in a record matches every single value in another record, it'll consider it a duplicate. That's great. But you know what? Think about this. This is employee information, right? And we got names in here. Well, because all of them are selected, I could potentially miss one. What if I have an employee named Robert, right? And then Robert gets entered a second time into this list. But the second time Robert gets entered, somebody called them Rob or Bob. Well, because the first name is different, Excel will treat it as a unique record. So that may not be very effective in this case to have all of them checked. Well, for me, the only thing that I'm really concerned with, I'm going to unselect all here, and I'm going to choose just the employee ID. For me, if the employee ID duplicates, that means I have a duplicate record in here because each employee should only have their unique ID. So I'm going to check that employee ID, and I'm going to hit OK. The moment that I hit OK, we're going to get another window up here, but it's then going to remove any duplicates, and they're now gone. No longer in the list. I'll hit OK. Oh, 2 duplicate values found. Remember we had the 4, 2 of them duplicated. 50 unique ones remain. I'll hit OK. And if I scroll through, you won't see that red text anymore. I've now removed, and we're down to 50 records, I've now removed those duplicates within this list. Really simple. In the olden days, you'd have to go manually through a list and search it yourself, and then delete out anytime you found duplicates. Well, here, really simple. Data tab, remove duplicates, tell it how you're going to identify the duplicate by which columns consider it a duplicate, hit the button, and they're gone. Poof! Now for me, once again, I like to identify them first, so I'll run the conditional formatting that we talked about in the previous lecture, and then I'll remove the duplicates. So try this out. Make sure you do the conditional formatting. If you didn't watch the previous video, go take a look at that first, and then go to your data tab and remove the duplicates and get rid of them.